The rising sun bathed Kyoto in a golden glow as Akechi Mitsuhide stood atop the wooden balcony of Hannoji Temple, gazing out over the city. His mind was a battlefield of thoughts, torn between loyalty and ambition. 4 years, Mitsuhide had served Oda Nobunaga, the ruthless and brilliant warlord who sought to unify Japan. But he had also endured humiliations, both personal and professional, at Nobunaga's hands. The memory of his mother being executed at the warlord's command still haunted him, and the sting of public rebuke in front of his men festered deep within his soul. To many, Nobunaga was a revolutionary. To Mitsuhide, he had become a tyrant. As dawn broke on June 21, 1582, Mitsuhide's decision had already been made. He turned to his men, warriors loyal to his cause, and declared, "The enemy is at Hannoji." With that, his army surged forward, surrounding the temple where Nobunaga resided with only a handful of guards. The battle within the temple was swift and brutal. Nobunaga, caught off guard, fought fiercely but was overwhelmed. As flames engulfed the wooden structure, he chose death over capture, committing seppuku with his sword. The mighty Oda Nobunaga, the man who had come closer than any before him to ruling all of Japan, was dead. Mitsuhide emerged from the battle victorious but unsettled. He had slain his master, but what came next? Would he be hailed as a liberator or condemned as a traitor? He quickly moved to consolidate power, sending letters to influential daimyo calling for their allegiance. Some hesitated, others outright refused. And in the shadows, a storm was brewing. Word of Nobunaga's death reached Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the brilliant strategist and general who had been engaged in battle at Takamatsu Castle. Swiftly, Hideyoshi made peace with his enemies and turned his forces toward Kyoto. Mitsuhide had expected weeks to prepare. He barely had days. On July 2, the armies clashed at Yamazaki. Hideyoshi's forces, bolstered by daimyo eager to avenge Nobunaga, vastly outnumbered Mitsuhide's men. The battle was fierce, but Mitsuhide's troops were driven back. As the sun began to set, his army collapsed and he was forced to flee. Alone, betrayed, and exhausted, Mitsuhide sought refuge in the countryside. But fate had already turned against him. As he rode through the wilderness, he was set upon by bandits, peasants who had heard of his fall. Struck down and bleeding, the once great samurai met his end at the hands of commoners, dying in obscurity just days after his greatest triumph. Yet his story does not end there. Even in death, Mitsuhide's legacy lingered. Hideyoshi, having avenged Nobunaga, would go on to unify Japan, setting the stage for the Tokugawa shogunate that would rule for over 2 centuries. Some whispered that Mitsuhide had only sought to bring about peace, that he had struck Nobunaga down to prevent further bloodshed. Others saw him as a man blinded by ambition, who miscalculated the consequences of his betrayal. Legends arose, with tales of Mitsuhide surviving and living in secret, watching as the world he had once fought to shape took its course without him. To this day, historians debate his true motives. Was he a hero or a villain? A loyal retainer pushed too far, or a power-hungry schemer who met his due fate? History would remember Mitsuhide as a traitor, the man who slew Nobunaga. Yet for some, he was a symbol of defiance against tyranny. His motivations remain debated to this day, but his name, Akechi Mitsuhide, would never be forgotten.